Hi, welcome to Family History with Chris. I am Chris, and I wanted to share with you today the experience I had this past week. Um, it, we so it's spring break, right? Um, and I got to go pick up my oldest from Salt Lake. It's a 17-hour drive usually, and uh, yeah, with that. So like before we left, uh, I was talking to my brothers and no, I'm I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. It's 15 hours to Salt Lake from here. So before that, I was talking to my uh, brother, and he was talking to me about my youngest brother and saying that that both his kidneys are failing him, and or they're shutting down, and I'm like, oh no. So both my wife and I felt that it was necessary that I go up to Idaho and spend some time with him because uh, who knows? And it's so sad that uh, even my sister was saying that out of all of us, there's us five kids, him being the youngest, and he's like only 35 or somewhere around there. I think uh, he would be the first to go. Well, of course, if you don't take care of your body, you know, um, that kind of happens. So his kidneys are shutting down. I did get to go instead of coming back when I went to pick up my kid. We went up and spent some time up in Idaho, um, and uh, I found out he's according to Idaho, he is handicapped, so he has ADHD, bipolar, uh, morbid obesity, uh, and the list goes on. Insomnia. Uh, yeah, so I go visit, and on Monday, um, he just gets. I text him because I needed to see when I could go see him. He just got off of work. This is like 7 in the morning, so he was working at night. Like, oh, you need your rest. He's like, no, I haven't slept since Thursday. I'm fine. Really? So, okay, so I tried to get down there as soon as possible, and we had a good time and stuff, and it's just it's just sad if you don't take care of yourself, you don't take care of your body, it, you're just a mess. So um, I hope you can find ways to fix, and there's nothing I can do, you know. So it, everybody has their agency, and they can do whatever they want, but there's always consequences to the actions. Um, Now, I bring this up. You got chapter 7 of Revelations here. This is because on Tuesday, this is the day after St. Patrick's Day, so it's the 7th, 18th, I believe. Okay, the 18th, we're coming back. Okay, so it's an 18-hour trip from Idaho Falls to uh, Carlsbad. And I want to read this to you first. So, chapter 7, it says, and after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, and the winds should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there was, that's the 144,000. So, um, I when I listen to Christian Homestead, he does a better job at this. Um, but there's a note where as soon as the Salt Lake Temple was dedicated the first time, then these angels were released. Uh, I'm not exact. I think it was President Kimball uh, in one of his notes, and I should have looked that up. But anyway, I want to, you can check out Christian Homestead, and he talks about this. But the reason why I bring this up is how bad that trip was. Okay, so you see this. It was like we started at 1 a.m. in the morning. Um, I was going to leave at 2, but I got up to go to the bathroom. I couldn't go back to sleep, so it's like, oh, let's just go because the sooner we get there, sooner we can go to bed and go to sleep and go to work. The next day. So it was snowing in Idaho Falls. There's a big blizzard coming through. So we head down, and it was as if you're going through warp speed. Uh, and I think around Blackfoot to Pocatello, it was really bad. That snowstorm. We kept on going um, up to Malad. I think on the other side of Malad, it kind of stayed, but we still had the clouds. Um, but then as we got down more, it started to rain again and snow. Um, yeah, sometime there were some places up here where we couldn't even see the road, so it was that bad. Get through here. It's a little clearer around Tremonton. It's so Ogden, yeah, it's snowing again, and then we get down to, uh, but the roads are just wet here. So down in Salt Lake, it was okay, but there, no, 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 I'm sorry. Yeah, there was a crash out there in Salt Lake that we saw. And even coming clear down to Spanish Fork, it was bad. Had to get some gas in Spanish Fork. Going up, this is horrible. I mean, going up to Malad Summit. Um, there were sometimes my kid was freaking out because I was crossing the yellow lines, but I was trying to stay on the tracks. So anyway, get down to Price. It's it's good after Price, but it's cloudy for a little bit, then it starts raining. Uh, and this area is usually not as bad as up there, but it's raining. Green River, clear down to Monticello, and in fact, we didn't even get out of the clouds until like Cortez. So if you look at that, that's a huge storm. Um, and then after Cortez, we had some sun, but then you get down to Shiprock, wind starts up. We have wind, come down 550, and dust storms as we're getting into Albuquerque. Uh, got gas out there in Bernalillo, and then after we left, we heard that they turned off the power out in Bernalillo due to the winds and dust storms and stuff like that. So out on I-40, we're going, and then we get to like past Moriarty, and they close the road. We see some fire trucks, so who knows what happened. Um, but we had to turn back, find a different way, so we went through south of Moriarty, and let's see if we can find that. I don't know. Yeah, we had to go through to Estancia, Willard, Then I think we came out to nope. It my car wanted to take me to Vaughn, but we did not go that way. Somehow and out there were fires, so we passed a fire uh, that was uh, that was put out. It wasn't too bad, but they took care of it. We get out. I think we went through Durant, but I'm not sure. But we get out somewhere around Ramon. Uh, it was okay. It was windy. A little bit of dust storms here, but then after we get past Roswell, down here they close the road. It, due to the dust storms, and people can't see, and apparently people can't drive out here in the dust storms. So, and I was thinking, you know, it's really not that bad. We had worse today, and here I am, almost an hour away, and I can't get home, so we have to wait and stuff. But we finally, uh, we got through that, and then we got home and stuff like that. So, and what I bring up is, the weather is horrible that day. Who knows? I'm not, I didn't check the weather for everything, but there, at least for what I experienced, we experienced all the elements. We had snow, rain, sun, wind, dust storms, wind storms, uh, snowstorms, just everything there. And it made me think of Revelation 7, how bad the weather has gotten since the dedication of the Salt Lake Temple, when these, if you believe this, that these angels were released. Um, and the fact that it progressively gets worse. And I've heard that, there's a whole bunch of tornadoes and things like that. So, uh, yeah, I don't know on that day, but man, it just got me thinking how close we are to the second coming. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you. It's like it is crazy to think of how big. We ended up driving for like 21 hours or something like that, and 18 is 18, 19 hours is usually my limit. Um, anyway, going back, I wanted to just give you an update. I'm still at 52. Uh, Here, I was trying to find something I can do in order to get up to uh, 53 or something like that. You know it's been kind of a crazy week. So, but what I found is going back to my grandparents on my mom's side. Uh, my third great grandmother, Anna Engler Free, had married James Miller Jones. I was like, where's this is some guy I need to work with. He needs sealing to the spouse. But it's like, how in the world is he to our family? And so what I had found out is they got married back in 1881. So, yes, they were married, uh, had their kids and stuff like that later on in life, because it appears that she married, like 11 years later, she had passed. Um, and so they kind of got married in their uh, old age. I was checking this out. James Miller Jones. So let me share a little bit about him. In fact, I don't think I've read this, but it looked interesting. So hope you don't mind. Just learn a little bit about James Miller Jones. Um, he was born on 1st of January 1817 from Somersetshire, England. Hope I said that correct. I don't know, Somersetshire. He was the second child of a family of 10. His brothers and sisters were John, born about 1815, Benjamin, born about 1819, Sophia, 15th February 1821, Eliza, 1823, Hiram in 1825, Anne was born in 1827, Timothy, 15th of February 1829, Alfred, born in 1831, about 1831, and Mary, born about 1833. So when he was 14 years old, he moved with his family to Toronto, Canada. When a young man, he came to the United States, heard the gospel, and accepted it. He met and married Mary Ann Partridge of Hamilton, Madison County, New York. They were married in 1842. So he was married before, too. She was the daughter of Hezekiah Partridge and Ann Pate. She had at least two brothers, Charles and Jonathan. Soon after their marriage, they gathered with the Saints of Nauvoo, Hancock, Illinois. William Dorius was born to them on the 16th of June, 1843, and died 29th of August, 1843, only a few months old. Then Hiram Smith Jones was born 18th of August, 1844, and he died 31st of July, 1845, not quite a year old. Joseph Smith Jones was born 27th of October, 1845, also in Nauvoo. So, yeah, I find it interesting that when, these people, they named their kids after Joseph Smith and Hiram Smith and stuff like that. So you can tell if, you know, maybe the Smiths were pretty good, well-known people. James had some farm near Nauvoo and built a home with maple forests in the town. In later years, he lived to tell the early days. He loved to tell of the early days in Nauvoo and his association with the prophet Joseph Smith and other leaders of the church. He said Joseph was a fine-looking man. He used to ride a white horse and rode in a very stately manner. He was good in wrestling and playing ball and found time in his busy life for sports. James wrestled with the prophet. So that's kind of cool. James heard many of the prophet's sermons, including the notable King Follett's funeral sermon. He received many instructions from the prophet here in Nauvoo. James and his wife, through all the persecutions and troubles at Nauvoo, they went through the troubles and were there at the time of the martyrdom of the prophet and Hiram. They were at the meeting when Sidney Rigdon was aspiring to be president of the church. He spoke for a long time, and when he sat down, Brigham Young arose, and when he spoke, he had Joseph's voice and appearance. The saints were convinced that the Lord had chosen this way to tell people that Brigham Young was their next leader. James and his wife Mary Ann left Nauvoo with the main body of the saints. He sold part of his farm and property and received a handkerchief in payment. They suffered the hardships and trials incident to the winter trek across the river and plains at Council Bluffs, then Keg Creek in Potawatomi, Iowa. They settled and helped with the farming and upbuilding of the town. 3 sons were born to them. James Edward, born May 1st, 1847. So close. My birthday is May 2nd. So George Franklin, born 11th of August, 1848. Timothy, born 1st of December, 1849. In 1850, they went on to Utah. Let's see if this up. They crossed the plains with their 4 children, using as a team of wagon, a horse, and a cow. A large quantity of corn was parched to take along the journey. This was a wonderful foresight with milk from their work cows. This parched corn ground through a coffee mill, which was common with their comrades. Was never quite sufficient to keep them from being hungry part of the time. They first settled Spanish Fork and 2 years later moved to Payson, where they spent the remainder of their lives. James built a comfortable 4 room home in Payson and bought a good farm in Payson Fields. The last 6 of their 12 children were born to them in Payson: Mary Ann Rosella, born 19 October 1853; Harriet Sophia, 19th January 1857; Eliza Jane, born 21st of August 1858; Heber John, 13th of November 1860; Amasa Lyman, 9th of February 1863; Charles Amos, 19th of July 1864. When he was one of the many friends of the prophets who had gladly laid down their lives for their beloved leader, he would have gladly laid down his life for their beloved leader. He acted as a bodyguard several times and stated that during the trying days of the prophet's death and burial, he helped bury false coffins to mislead the mobs who were eager to obtain the Mormon prophet's body. A number of leaders of the church stopped at the home of James and Mary when they were in Payson. Brigham Young often stayed with them and would spend the evening around the fire telling experiences in the early church history. James wasn't one to accumulate much property. He had only 14 acres of farmland and a few acres of meadowland. He had money in Payson Co-op and had sheep on their town lot. They had a good orchard, and Mary Ann's garden was noted for its earliness, quality, and variety. Mary Ann had been raised on a New York farm and was a very hard worker. She was a splendid horsewoman and a fine shot with a rifle. She trained her boys in wood lore and how to shoot. Many times she would step to the door with a small bore rifle and shoot the heads off of the chickens as they ran across the yard instead of using an axe. That's fun. She was the best shot in the neighborhood. She had been trained to cord, spin, and weave. At one time, a contest was being held to see who could spin the most in a day. She never went to the contest, but during the day spun as much as the leading contestants besides doing all her own housework. I bet she could have spun more if she went. That would have been fun. She spun and dyed yarn, wove the clothes, and made suits and for her husbands and sons. Her own clothes were of the plainest style. She even wore her own carpets. She was an excellent cook and a good housekeeper. Mary Ann was an intrepid pioneer, much more courageous than most men. That's cool. Her eyes were black as flashing hair, dark hair. She weighed 225 pounds, but was wonderfully agile, even after raising a large family. There was a large adobe oven outside Mary Ann that Mary Ann used to make her salt raisin bread in batches of 8 or 10 loaves. One day, while her hot bread was on the table, an Indian woman who she had helped before came to the door and wanted bread. She gave him a loaf. Okay, I read that wrong. An Indian whom she had helped before came and asked for bread. She gave him a loaf, but he demanded more. Mary Ann needed it for her own family, but would not give it to him. When he became insolent, she reached up and took down the rifle hanging on the horns, and on the door. And as she came down, cocked it, the Indian left in a hurry and didn't even wait to take the smaller loaf. Mary Ann kept an open house for her family, and they loved to gather there to partake of her hospitality and enjoy her good dinners. She was great. She was a great hand to stay home and cook and have her married children come home for dinner. She didn't visit them much in their own homes, but preferred to entertain them in hers. She died the 22nd of May, 1881, of appendicitis, then called inflammation of bowels. James had the gift of healing, and the latter part of his life was spent among the sick. When he knew of anyone sick, he would not wait to be sent for to be sent for, but would go administer to them. There were some wonderful healings under his hands. 2 children in 8 shepherd families of the 8 shepherd family were seriously sick. A new doctor was attending them. James heard about the sickness and went to their home to find one of the children already dead. He told their mother if she would throw away the medicine, he would administer to the child, and it would recover. He administered to the child, and it recovered. That's weird that they used it on that, you know. James Miller was a heavy-set man, very broad shoulders, quite short, blue eyes, uh, and a very genial disposition. He was prone to talk very much with his Joseph, very much when his Joseph was the subject. Not much to gossip. James was always willing to share his food and supplies with those in need. At one time, James William Hewish, father of James Hewish Jr., a newcomer to Payson, was without bread or flour, or his family, the miller, would not give him any flour on credit, but James Jones signed his note for the flour and made it possible for him to get the needed food. When Amasa and Timothy, the oldest sons of James, were going to Mexico, they stopped at Eden, Arizona, to obtain pasture for their teams. They acquired of Mr. Hancock, and when he learned that Amasa, the son of James Miller, he would not charge for the pasture, he said, "When we were first to Payson, we would have starved had it not been for Jimmy Jones." At the time, when Indian troubles were common, the following humorous incident is related. James was a very peaceable man, never wanting trouble, and also very timid of using a gun, and took his place at guard with a pitchfork. When the call name for when the call came for teams to be sent back for immigrants, he sent one. James never missed the Salt Lake City conference. He also loved to walk. While the family rode in the wagon, he would start ahead. Often they would not catch up with him until stopping time. Mary Ann died 22nd of May, 1881. Soon after, he married Anne Free. Okay, so this was Anne Engler, I believe, a Swiss widow with 5 children. There were Rosalina, Julia, Carolina, Jacob, and Henry. And I think I came through, well, I came through one of these two. James had always had a desire not to linger long at his death. And this was granted to him, for he took dysentery and died in a few days on August 31st, 1898. Okay, so James Miller Jones. Hail to thee, O noble spirit, strong and sturdy pioneer, champion of a cause of merit, great your memory we revere. You crossed the unknown desert, brave and hostile west frontier. Much we owe you, grandfather, for our heritage so dear. You who left your friends and family for our dear religion's sake, that for you, your dear wife and children, you a home for them would make. Well, you reared those sons and daughters, taught them not precepts along, but a shining bright example from your clear eyes always shone. And those children ne'er forgot you. They, in turn, lived lives of worth. They were loyal of the gospel. Gladly they gave to us birth. Or they gave birth. All your children now with you called back home is every one. May we also come to join you when our missions here are done. May our missions too be worthy. May we too expose the cause. May we glorify the Master by obeying all his laws. May we keep unspoiled our birthright. May we pass along the line all the milestones of your journey that were big and grand and fine. May we not alone look forward. May we roll for centuries back. May we give to our ancestors opportunities while they lack. Let us give them the gospel through vicarious temple work. Thus alone can we repay them. Let us not our dusty shirk. When our earthly lives are finished and we too are called above, may we be one happy family filled with joy and peace and love. Loving dedicated to Grandfather James Miller Jones by Pearl Jones. That is awesome. Well, I'm sure I talked plenty now, so I appreciate you listening in if you're still here. So James Miller Jones married Anna Engler Free. John Henry is our line, or is my line. Hopefully, it's your line too. So, well, but we're all related somehow. Uh, I'm going to leave that with you, and feel free to give me any comments or questions. Let me know how you're doing or whatever. So, with that, we will talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.